being a sports fan is a wonderful thing. It gives you a diversion from the crap show that is our lives right now. Any diversion you can find is a good thing. Do we get a little stressed out at times? You bet your ass we do. Do we get exuberant and jumping up and down? You bet your ass I do. Do you yell at the TV? My wife thinks I'm absolutely friggin' nuts. But do I do it? Yes. And do I love it? What do you think the answer to that question is?
You bet.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew Sistad, glad unite. Philly and Y in the spotlight.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 81. We have a fun guest, a fun episode for you this week. Neil Schwartz of SBRnet. He has all the numbers, all the metrics that will break down the question and the debate that we have so often on this podcast. Which city has better fans? Which city is more dedicated to their teams, New York or Philadelphia? And Neil's going to break it all down. Neil, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys reaching out, and always love talking about two of my favorite subjects. One, just sports, but two, anything to do with Philadelphia versus like New York. I'm originally from, I have full disclosure, I am a Philadelphian, born and bred. I now live in Florida, but I did grow up in Philadelphia. I grew up an Eagles fan, Flyers fan, Phillies fan. Was never much of a Sixers fan, although I did go to games and things like that. But yeah, I grew up in Philadelphia. Full disclosure.
Love it.
But I tell you though, what we can join each other in though. We can have solidarity in hating the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah. I don't know. As a Jets fan, I don't hate the Cowboys. So
really, Jets fan though. Come on, dude. You talk about long suffering. I mean, I'm in that long suffering category too, because even though I am an Eagles fan, I'm also a Miami Dolphin fan. I live in Florida. I'm one of those guys that likes to root for the home team.
Yeah.
Just the way I am. But I am a long suffering Miami Dolphin fan. Trust me. My daughter the other day criticized me and said, Dad, I'll never forgive you for making me a Miami Dolphin fan. I'm like, really? Never forgive me?
Yeah, it could be worse. I know it could be worse.
Yeah.
I've experienced.
To be a Jets fan.
Yeah, it could be a Jets fan. All right, so glad you're on, Yo. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
So let's get into it here.
Sure.
Let's talk about what makes New York better than Philadelphia.
Who said that?
Nice try.
All right.
What's interesting, I know maybe I cut you off a little bit, is that there's a lot of ways you can look at this fandom story, quite frankly. A lot of different categories. Let me just real quickly explain what I do so that your listeners understand. I'm not just some guy they pulled in off the street who was delivering pizzas an hour ago, and now he's talking about fandom. So my company, SBRnet, we focus on data for the business side of sports. Our number one thing that we focus on is sports fandom data. Every year we do a large study of sports fans. Last year we interviewed over 7,000 using an internet-based methodology. I'm not going to get too sciencey on you because that'll really lose the audience. But what we do is we survey over 7,000 people. We want to get their habits focused on about 20 different sports, all professional sports, minor league, college sports, and the individual sports, everything from like golf, tennis, auto racing, you name it, MMA. We really kind of cover the full gamut of sports. And each person who interacts with our survey literally interacts with over 70 separate categories that make up this wonderful word called fandom. And there's just so many ways that as a fan, you can express yourself. and express your level of fandom and your, and exactly how you feel about your team. And, everything from going to games, watching them via TV, streaming. I said live attendance, buying licensed merch. One of the things I talked about this morning with another show I was on was the idea of what I like to call active fandom or actively engaged fandom and then passive fandom. And there's a difference. But are they any less valuable? I don't know. That's for somebody else to determine. But, fandom's an interesting topic all around. It really is.
For sure. So what are the major categories that you're assessing or evaluating? It's
Sure.
So you mentioned ticket sales, you mentioned ratings.
Yeah, I don't
You
measure
mentioned-
ticket sales, actually. I measure live attendance. It's a little different.
It's different?
I may not buy the ticket, but I go.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So,
Okay.
There's a little bit of a distinction there. And what happens is people try to match up my data, live attendance data with sales data, and it usually doesn't work. It just doesn't. But I will tell you, though, the one thing I do focus on a lot, when you look at data, there's always a number of different ways to look at data, and there's always different ways to slice it. What I like to do, though, is I like to look at two issues. Number one, everybody loves to look at what I call tonnage. How big is something? How many fans, do the New York Jets have? Do the Rangers have? How many fans? Well, to me, that's not what's most important. What's most important are their tendencies, are their trends, are their percentages, are their benchmarks as they relate to other teams, in New York or even in Philadelphia or New Jersey. So, there's just a number of different ways to look at fandom and to kind of slice the fandom pie. But there is so many things that goes into it. I mean, you just mentioned live attendance. In 2020 pandemic time, we didn't measure live attendance because we felt that if we did, we would have been creating kind of a false narrative. We didn't want to do that. But we do, we continue to measure streaming. We continue to measure. So I like, as an example, we're seeing streaming really increase pretty much across the board. And that fans have really opted into streaming in a big way. And it's at the cost of traditional TV. So, traditional TV, cable, satellite is kind of, a little up, but I would say mostly flat. And in some cases, we're seeing attendance, up a little bit. People are coming back out to games, but where they're really gravitating towards is streaming. And that's really where where a lot of the action is. But, there's a lot that goes into that and a lot that matters, and, a lot of situations where streaming, drives fandom in some cases.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but I do have to ask you.
Sure.
The streaming. For a while, there was a lot of, from my understanding, there was a lot of uncertainty around how to accurately measure the streaming.
Yes.
And then recently, I think, didn't Nielsen change the way that they quantify it?
Yeah. It's a little suspect in my opinion. I mean, I don't like to piss in anybody else's pond, so to speak, but I don't really love what Nielsen did. You know why? What I do perfect? Far from it. But I believe, what I do is that I'm able to get a good glimpse of things at a point in time. And I'm going to give you a quick example. So let's talk about 2 years ago. And I hate to go back 2 years, but I can go back last year too. But do you remember 2 years ago when the Miami Dolphins versus Kansas City Chiefs had their playoff game on Peacock? It was the first time anybody had ever done that. It was literally exclusively on Peacock. And I remember, getting emails from friends and looking at the news stories, and people were up in arms. How to pay for it.
I was one of those people. Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah.
I was not, because I lived in Florida, so we kind of got a little bit of a break there. But so what I did when I first heard about this is that, being a data guy, employing a number of analysts and a data scientist, I might add, I asked them, I said, you know what? Let's look at this Peacock streaming situation and let's find a new way to measure it. Let's find a new way to determine if the return on investment that Peacock made, I think they invested $10 million on this one game, a lot of money. So what I did was I took a look at Peacock subscribers and then took a look at, the next year Peacock subscribers. What did we see? Well, we saw Peacock subscribers go up by a substantial amount. Now, Peacock reported, I forgot what the number was that they reported, but they reported that they had, I don't know, they gained like 1 million subscribers. It was like a nutty number. Now, did they know they were going to hold on to them? No, they knew they weren't. But they held on to about 30% of them. Now, remember one thing. They had commercials on Peacock, but that's not their business model. Their business model is subscription revenue. So even though they only held on to 30% of those subscribers or people that bought just for the Miami Dolphins Kansas City game, and in the long run, it was a winner for Peacock because they were able to hold on to enough subscribers that generated enough monthly recurring revenue that made it pay off for them. And it definitely paid off for them. No question about it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Sense. And, a lot of people forget that, streaming is really based on a different business model than, say, CBS, ABC, or the traditional networks. They're based off of a subscription-based model. So they're not just capturing, and they're running ads too. So, they're not just capturing money from advertising revenue, they're capturing money from subscription revenue. And the same, by the way, is said to be true for Amazon. When Amazon started with Thursday Night Football, I did I did some analysis on that to see, is it going to pay off in the long run? The answer is yes. Not because they're doing so great with Thursday Night Football, because they're really not. They're getting great numbers. They've had some good games. I mean, I'm a football fan, so for me, I like it. But what everybody forgets about is that every time they add a new subscriber, it's not just about watching the games. It's about the stuff they buy. Every time you become a Prime, I don't know what a Prime customer is worth. I do know what I'm worth in terms of the amount of packages that are at my door every day. My wife is like addicted. I have to admit, I've been known to order a few things too. But every day, literally, there's something at my door every friggin' day. Jeff Bezos should send me a friggin' Christmas card. He really should. I want to get invited to his next wedding. Fact.
I don't know. It sounds like you should send him a Christmas card.
But again, these business models are changing, and that's really what's changing kind of the whole dynamic, of sports in general. Sports gambling, don't even get me started, but I could talk about that for literally hours. But there's no question about one thing. Fans who gamble on sports, very engaged. No question about it. More 100%. Engaged. Buy more merch. Attend more games live. Watch more games. I can go on with this, by the way. But
consume more
sports concessions, article. You name it. Yeah, they spend more, they do more, they buy more. Obviously, they gamble. But, I think there's this interesting discussion we could probably have in a future episode. Is sports gambling or online sports gambling really good for sport? Lately, I'm not so sure based on the news stories. What do you think, Sistad? Do you think gambling is good for sports?
I think there's some gray area. I'm not a very big gambler. For one, I love the experience of watching sports for the experience of watching sports. So I don't really need like an extra, everybody always says, it's so much more exciting when you have a little action on it. And I've dabbled, but I never want to lose my childlike excitement just for the glory of the game itself. So I typically, I'm not a very big gambler. I think that is a pretty interesting conversation to be had, especially with the whole, this NBA investigation that's ongoing right now. Yeah, just super kind of mind blowing. But I would
by the way, this is not over. This is not even close to over. There's going to be more shoes to drop. How about you, Andrew? Do you gamble on sports?
I do gamble on sports.
Okay.
I don't gamble on sports when I have an emotional stake, though.
Really?
So if I'm watching the teams I root for, I won't bet on it because I'm already emotionally invested.
Fair enough.
If I'm watching a random game and I want to be more emotionally invested, then I'll gamble.
That's fair.
And then fantasy sports. I'm big into fantasy sports.
I do fantasy. I'll do the emotional hedge, Neil. So I will actually bet against my teams, just because I'm a winner either way. If my team wins, I'm happy, and if they lose, then at least I win some money as a consolation prize.
I just like betting on the betting against the Jets.
There you go. That's a good strategy.
Yeah. What's interesting though about look, gambling, does add a lot of interest and a lot of emotional, and there's a lot of things going on, but there's also a lot of, I hate to throw a value judgment on something because that's not really what I'm good at, but there's also a lot of bad things that come with gambling, and I don't know if we want to talk about it on this show necessarily, but look, there's no question that gambling does increase engagement. Fans who gamble are more engaged. Engaged fans spend more money, and that's good for sport in general. But with this recent gambling scandal with the NBA, and you're going to hear a lot more. The college stuff is also really kind of a little bit disheartening, in my opinion. I always felt college was like the last bastion of kind of sports. What's the word I'm looking for here? Credibility. But it appears even they're tainted, in a lot of ways by gambling, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. So let's. I love this. I definitely would be interested in having a gambling conversation.
Sure.
I think, like you said, that's like probably an hour-long conversation in itself.
You bet.
At least.
You bet.
So if we could steer it back to the New York and Philadelphia rivalry, in your analysis of. Yeah.
Well, hold on, Andrew. I just want to say, so just to kind of to set the table for you a little bit, Neil. I know you and Andrew spoke a little bit, but
a little bit
from my perspective. So the reason why Andrew and I kind of started doing this together is, one, we've been friends for a long time, and New Jersey. So you're from Philadelphia.
I am.
New Jersey it's a very big melting pot for both cities, right? Where I grew up, Andrew and I used to work together. And where we grew up in central New Jersey, there's very much a mixed bag. And I grew up in Toms River, New Jersey.
I know where it is.
I don't know where that is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So when I was young, when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, the Eagles started to become really good. And at that time, like now, so I don't know how long you've been in Florida for, but over the past 20 or so years, a lot of people from North Jersey and New York have moved down into the Toms River area. So when I was young, everybody was Philadelphia fans. Everybody loved the Eagles and the Phillies and the Flyers. You had a couple of fans in the mix, but over the past 20 years, this migration from North Jersey down to Ocean County has totally flipped that up on its head to now. Philadelphia, like there's no Eagles fans anymore. Now it's all Giants, Jets, Yankees, Knicks, and I hate that. Because here I am, it's my home turf, and 20 years ago, I was surrounded by fellow Philadelphia fans, and again now it's the opposite. So it's funny when you had mentioned the Dallas Cowboys. Like don't get me wrong, like I hate the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh boy, you have no idea.
I hate
them too.
And I know as an Eagles fan, I'm supposed to hate them more so, but
it's in your genes. It's genetic.
Well, I hate the New York Giants
I do too.
Way more than I hate the Cowboys. So
I hate the Giants too.
So just to kind of set that's our thing, right? Is I'm the Philadelphia guy, Andrew's the New York guy, and in this weird climate of New Jersey, when you have all these different fans and fan bases. It makes for just some interesting banter, conversation, and I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say with these numbers.
First of all, I get it. I went to school in Syracuse, Syracuse, New York. I was a Philadelphia guy surrounded by New Yorkers. I mean, every time I'd sit and watch a Ranger game, remember look, I'm a little older than you guys, so I have to go back in the Wayback Machine. But I mean, my family we were fans. We were Eagles season ticket holders. I used to go to games at Franklin Field. It was a toilet. Probably still a toilet.
Yeah.
If it's even still there. I think it is still there, actually.
It
was a toilet. But I went to games. I saw a memorable game there between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys when Timmy Brown ran 2 kickoffs back for touchdowns, both, over 100 yards. And I think actually that's only been done 1 or 2 times since. So I remember freezing my ass off, though, at Franklin Field. It was one of those open horseshoe-type stadiums, and the wind would come in, whipping in. Oh, man, it was brutal. But
that's the site of the famous Santa Claus Snowballs game.
Is it? I thought that was the vet. Yeah. Okay.
Nope.
But, look, for years, though, and Andrew, you know this, too. I mean, for years, there's been a constant back and forth between New York fans, whether it was, obviously between the Eagles and the Giants or whether it was between the Rangers and the Flyers, Sixers and the Knicks. Look, and do the Jersey Devils have a little place in that discussion? A little place. Do the Nets have a little place, in that discussion? A little place. But, they unfortunately don't have the history, and history's tough to overcome. I mean, I have New York Ranger fans that still talk about, like 50 years ago. Remember the Broad Street? Were you guys around when the Broad Street Bullies were popular? You couldn't have been, right?
Nope.
No,
but
we're aware of them. I was born in 91.
Okay.
I was born in 90. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little older than that, but just a little. But I remember, look, I was a big Flyer fan when the Broad Street Bullies were big, and I used to go to the games. And, I remember the Ranger Flyers games were there were a lot of fighting, a lot of spirited fans. I mean, I have to admit, I've never heard fans with worse language than the Ranger fans until, of course, I heard the Jets fans.
Oh,
I took my daughter when she was younger to a Jets Dolphins game, and there was a guy sitting behind me. I was like sitting on like the first row of the second deck, and there was a guy who literally could not do a 5-word sentence without dropping the F-bomb at least 2 times in the 5 words. And here I'm sitting there with my like 8-year-old, 9-year-old. Now look, she's heard it. There's no question. She's used it. There's no question. But I don't have to sit and listen to it for 2.5 hours. And I finally got sick of hearing. I finally said something to the usher. The usher went over and talked to him and all that. And he gave the usher grief. They ended up taking him out of the stadium. But,
Those
look,
damn Jets
I think
fans, man.
the one thing, though, I'm looking at the data. You know what? I'm a data guy. I am. And I look at the data. And when you look at this data, what you see is that both fan bases, whether it's in the NFL, the Giants, the Jets, and the Eagles, whether it's Major League Baseball, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Yankees, whether it's hockey with the Rangers, the Flyers, the Islanders, and I'm going to throw the Devils into that pot, although the Devils' numbers are crap. The Sixers, the Knicks, the Nets, MLS even, the Red Bulls, New York FC, and the Philadelphia Union. Again, there's like a lot of parity, when it comes to fan support and fandom. New Yorkers love their teams. there's no other way to say it. But Philadelphia loves their teams too. And it manifests itself in a number of different ways, by the way. It does. And it's not just about, look, New York's got 11, 12 million people in the general metropolitan area. Philadelphia's got like 4 or 5. I forgot what the exact numbers are. So look, do the New York teams have a bigger base to work from? Hell yeah.
They also have more teams though.
Yeah, they do. No, they definitely do. And it's also more expensive. Cost of living's more expensive. Tickets cost more. But the one thing that's interesting, and I looked at a couple of interesting categories. One of the categories I looked at this morning actually was licensed merch sales. I love looking at categories that are in that active fandom category. When I say active, here's what I mean. If you have to put your hand in your pocket to buy something, guess what? That's active.
I agree.
Let's talk about licensed merch. Now, here's where it's interesting. So last year, 36.9%, or let's call it 37% of Eagles fans spent at least $1 on licensed merchandise. Now, we know they spent more than that. 22.9% of Giants fans and 17.2% of Jets fans. Now, Philly guy, Sistad, why do you think the Eagles fans so overwhelmed both the Giants and the Jets when it came to buying of licensed merchandise? Yes.
The Super Bowl champion Eagles?
Yes.
Is that who you speak
winning.
of? Yep.
It's winning.
That's why.
Winning drives a lot of things when it comes to fandom. Make no mistake about it. Everybody loves a winner. They're willing to persevere with a loser, but everybody loves a winner. And when you're a winner, what happens? People spend more money. And that's just the facts. I mean,
yeah.
But there's a couple interesting things here, though. But even though I say that winning and all that, here's an interesting category that we measure. Sports philanthropy. Those are people that give to the various philanthropic efforts that are done by the various teams. Now, Philadelphia has among the lowest percentage of fans that are philanthropic or give to, let's say, Eagles charities or things that the Eagles support. I mean, both the Giants and the Jets are in the mid sevens or mid sevens. Philadelphia is in the low single digits. It's like 7.6% for the Giants and the Jets fans, 4.7 for the Eagles fans. So Eagles fans have very little sympathy for other people.
Man, damn. That's because they're too busy spending all of their money on licensed merch. They don't have anything left to give.
Another interesting category is sports tourism. I know that's not something you probably ever think about. Most people don't.
Yeah, what do you mean by
It's
sports
a $30
tourism?
billion category. So when fans travel, and I will tell you, Philadelphia fans are among the best fans who travel to support their team.
Okay, yeah.
Would you believe that? Would you buy that, guys?
I would think that there's a couple of like organizations that I know that just plan and they map out all the details. They book the hotels, they book the flights. Like there's a couple of organizations that actually do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Andrew. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, so when it comes to, I think for New York fans, because New York people that spent time in New York or in the New York area, there's, like you said, it's such a vastly
lot to do,
high population, but I think they move to different areas, Florida, different places. So I think their attendance might be at road games, but they're not part of that tourism or traveling.
Well, but if you're going to a road game, chances are you're probably staying one night in a hotel. You're probably buying dinner the night before. You're spending money. There's an economic impact to be derived from that fan base.
No, I'm saying if they live in those areas.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair. Okay. The one thing about Philadelphia fans, though, and just that, and look, you and I know this based on geography, but Philadelphia fans can go in multiple directions here. Philadelphia fans can go south to Baltimore, DC, see a game. Philadelphia fans can go north and east to New York and New Jersey, see a game. And also, frankly, there's a lot going on in New York. It's not, Philadelphia, great city. I love Philadelphia. I do. I grew up there. But it's, it's a little bit of apples and, oranges maybe. But, what's interesting, though, is that Giants fans way out travel the Jets fans. The Jet fans, they don't leave their house.
I mean, what are we going to go travel to see that?
Spend money? Yeah.
Come to Florida. Come at least to the Miami Dolphin game. Get some sun. You guys, you look really pasty white.
That would be nice.
Get some color. Come down, play a round of golf. I mean, come on.
We should
don't go to the game. Yeah, I won't go to the game though.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting though. When I looked at the data, I pulled the soccer data was kind of interesting. Also, by the way, the MLS data. I will tell you that the New York fans have really, embraced soccer. Both the Red Bulls and the New York FC both have very high fan engagement scores. So let me tell you a little bit about this fan engagement score. So a couple of years ago, my data scientist and I got together and we wanted to build this idea about active engagement. So what are those categories that we measure that go into active engagement? So there's things like live attendance at games, gambling, travel, licensed merch, posting on social media, playing fantasy. There's just a whole bunch of things that go into this active engagement category. So what I had our data scientists do was do some of that voodoo that she do so well, and she created this engagement score. We call it, by the way, the fanverse. So we created this fanverse that measures active engagement. What's funny is we're creating a new number to measure passive engagement. I'm wondering, what am I going to call it? The couch potato score? I got to figure out what I'm going to call that one. But it's interesting because when you look at the active engagement scores, the New York fans in general are really pretty engaged. I mean, Giants fans. So the average, or the let's say the average score is 100. So, the Giants fans are above it at 102.6. Jets fans are, even though they may hate their team, they're engaged. They're watching, they're betting, they're just not buying licensed merch, but they are engaged. They do watch, they do suffer. God knows I suffer with the Dolphins, but it's really interesting. It just really is that the engagement levels across Philadelphia and New York teams are really a lot of parity there.
Neil, I have a question. So how would you know? This is probably a stupid question, but how would you know? So Andrew does he's very active, right? He's betting, he watches all the games. How would you know, or would your data collector know that Andrew likes the Jets and the Rangers
Right.
and the Knicks? Like when he
Right.
has those other
Right.
options. Philadelphia, it's probably pretty cut and dry, right? There's only one team per sport.
Right.
But something like New York is a little bit different, I would imagine.
So once a year, I go out and I survey over 7,000 sports fans, or actually 7,000 people. And basically, we use what they call a nationally representative sample of people 13 years and older here in the United States. I only measure domestic USA. So, look, I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. I don't want to get too sciencey, but like when an architect or an engineer builds a bridge or a building, what do? They build a scale model. And then they test the scale model. Well, I actually have created a scale model of the United States, persons 13 years and older, based on age, income, ethnicity, gender, household size, presence of children in the household, and geography. So what I do is I build a model of the United States. And then I collect my data based on that model and then put it through what they call weighting. I weight the data up so that it becomes representative. So, for instance, while Andrew himself may not have taken my survey, somebody just like Andrew did, who's a Jets fan, who's a New York fan, who, is a Ranger fan. So it may not be exactly you, Andrew.
I get it.
But it looks like you.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's amazing how, data is an interesting tool, and we can get into talk about data a lot, believe me. But data is a really interesting tool because it really, in a lot of ways, it brings you so much closer to the fan, to the consumer, to people. And those are always better decisions. A decision made closer to the people, closer to the end user, is always a better decision. And in this case, it definitely is.
Neil, so regarding the licensed merch,
yes.
Obviously, we know why the Eagles or why Philadelphia Eagles fans are buying more. What about the other sports? What did you see in the other sports?
Well, I have to admit, I did not go that deep. I had a pretty busy day today, but I definitely, I definitely did look. I will tell you that Yankees fans buy a lot of licensed merch, but that's because the players are moving around so much, and that's another issue. NFL players move, but probably not as much as, let's say, baseball players or NBA players. The teams that have a lot of player movement tend to have a lot of what I like to call jersey shift. Nothing will stimulate licensed merchandise sales better than a star player coming to your team. I will tell you, Andrew, when what's his face quarterback Jets. Help me.
Aaron Rodgers.
Which one?
Thank you. Dude, I'm getting old. I can't remember everything. But when Aaron Rodgers came to the Jets, okay, for that brief time that he did play, he sold a shit ton of Aaron Rodgers Jets jerseys. Now,
that makes sense.
A lot of people left that stadium very disappointed that he played a grand total of 2 plays and was done for the rest of the year. I was not one of those unhappy people. I was like, yeah, come on. That couldn't have gone any better as a Dolphin
Wow,
fan.
that's evil, Neil. Wow. You're representing Philly and Miami right now.
Dude, I facts are facts. I just got to go, look, I'm a fan too.
You do the same thing,
I'm a fan
Andrew.
too.
Don't let him fool you. Andrew does the same thing.
Yeah, I love it when
you should have seen him when Jason Tatum tore his Achilles last year. Andrew got up and started cheering. It was bad.
He's smiling.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's rough. But it's that, there are certain circumstances that do, let's say stimulate certain aspects of the game. And that's definitely one of them. Over the years, I've been really taking a look at that. I used to work for a company before I owned SBRnet, which has been about 6 years now. I used to work for a company called SportScan. And SportScan used to collect POS data, point of sales data, from around 25,000 retail doors nationwide, focused, of course, on sports. I've been in the sports business for 25 years. I can't seem to get rid of it, but I love it. I love it. And if you ask me why I love it, there's 3 words.
Do you love it?
Sports are fun. Dude, it's fun. Look what we're doing right now. It's 8:07. Should be watching the Florida Panther game. I got laundry in the in the washer and dryer. My wife's sitting back there playing some video game of some sort on her iPad, but we're here talking sports.
Yeah,
Dude,
baby.
I mean, really. I mean,
I agree.
so it's a lot of fun. And you know what? And as you can tell, I get jacked up about it. I love sports. I really do.
That's great.
But I think that, over the years, I've been in sports, and I used to work with this company, again, SportsScan, and we used to collect point of sales data. And I used to look at the license data, sales data, like every week, because there was always a story there. Kobe Bryant changed his number. Remember he changed his number at one point? He went from, what was
8 to 24.
8 to 24, yeah. The jersey sales went wild for the Lakers. Team comes out with a new jersey, third jersey, Sunday jersey. Numbers go wild for a particular team. In fact, I don't know why more teams don't introduce third jerseys or oddball jerseys more frequently. Because quite frankly, that would just really help drive sales. The only thing I can think of is that teams, may be afraid to go to the well too many times, with a fan. I mean, I'm a Florida Panther fan. I'm a season ticket holder. I did buy a jersey last year. What's that?
Is it convenient?
Well, I bought a jersey. Funny thing was, I wore it. I bought a jersey in the middle of the playoffs. I bought it during the Toronto series. I bought it for game 1. They lost. Wore my jersey second game. They lost. I took my jersey off. I threw it on my table in my living room. It stayed there for the remainder of the Stanley Cup playoffs and Stanley Cup finals. The friggin' Panthers won. My shirt, my jersey had some bad juju attached to it.
For sure.
I gave it to my wife.
That's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence.
So I have to go out and buy a new shirt. But
yeah, there you go.
Neil, I've got some crazy superstitions too. So
go ahead,
don't
tell me
bad.
one.
Mine are. Oh man.
God.
Well, the biggest one is that
Andrew.
So this is insane. This is really pathetic. But I will match whatever uniform the team is wearing that day, because I have 100 jerseys. So if the Eagles are wearing their white jerseys with black pants and a black helmet, I will wear white jersey, black pants, and a black hat to match them as closely as possible.
Really?
And it works.
It worked. Act like they know.
It worked last year, didn't it?
Jalen Hurts knows what you're wearing.
Yep.
Or cares.
Playoff beard. I had a nice playoff beard going yesterday. Andrew actually has his playoff beard going right now because the Jets won their first game of the year, and he thinks he thought they were going to go on their run after growing his beard.
Their run.
All right. I do have a question, though, Neil. I know you said no stupid questions. I'm going to challenge that moniker right now. So as you're collecting this data, I find it super fascinating, but who is this data for, and what use is it being put towards? Are you selling this data to people?
Yes,
is it to drive sales?
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Walk me
there's
through
a business
that. That's
here. I live on a golf course. It's not cheap living on a golf course. Yeah, there's a business here. So what we do is that we collect this data and we package it and then we sell it. And we actually have 3 or 4 different, what I like to call constituent groups or verticals. Interestingly enough, my largest revenue group are schools, colleges and universities. So they use it to help students learn how to use data and learn how to do analytics. Rather than use old data, stale data, bogus data, schools subscribe to my service, to my data, so that kids that are in sports management and sports marketing and all the related categories can literally use real live data, because this is what they're going to be using once they get out of school. So it's giving them a real good, but I also have a bunch of teams that use my data, leagues that use my data. A lot of brands also use my data. A brand, before they're going to make a big investment, let's say in a naming rights deal or a sponsorship deal or something, there are things they want to know that they can't find out on their own. So they come to me, and hopefully I have the data to help them. We also sell to a number of not-for-profits, and there's a number of different people that need sports fandom data that we have in order to help them. And thank goodness they are, because, it basically, affords my lifestyle.
That's good.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a great business model, by the way. It's if you're into business models, and we have We use what they call a subscription-based business model. So when you buy my data, you pay for it up front. You get it all up front, but you pay for it up front. And
is it?
okay.
I was gonna say, is it like a monthly, yearly? Is it a one time? How does that work?
It's considered a monthly subscription in the true sense of the word, but everybody pays for it up front. So nobody pays me monthly. I don't even have a mechanism to be able to invoice somebody monthly. I mean, I just don't. So we charge a certain amount of money. They send it to me one time a year. And basically 90% of my clients renew every year. So it's almost like an insurance policy. It's great. It's great. It's a great
That's
business.
awesome.
It's a great business. It really is.
So Neil, I would love to do a lightning round right now.
Go for it.
All right.
Wait, do I need to sit up straight? Take a drink?
Sit up. Get ready. Get ready.
Maybe take a sip of Celsius or something like that?
Yeah. Take 2 sips.
Yeah, just what I need, more caffeine.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't have, you may not have a lot of this data. Just off the top of your head,
it on hand. Yeah.
Yeah, on the top of your head, but your best estimate or guess, even if you don't have the data, we won't hold you to this. All right. Philly fans are more likely to watch full replays than the condensed games.
Probably no.
Okay. New York fans buy fewer jerseys per capita, but spend more per purchase.
Unfortunately, jerseys are basically price fixed by Fanatics. So unfortunately, that statement's a hard one to, but do New York fans maybe buy a little bit more hats, things like that? The answer is yes.
Okay. Do Giants fans travel farther on average than Eagles fans? You already answered this one.
Well, I did kind of answer it, and they do. They travel slightly less than Eagles fans, frankly. But I got to give the Eagles a little bit of an advantage. For, number one, they're winning, and number two is that you can go in multiple directions and reach another game. Whether you go to Baltimore, DC, obviously DC, you've got a division team. You go to New York. The Giants, obviously a division team, but there's Giant and probably most Eagles fans couldn't give a crap about the Jets.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
You got to pick New York or Philly for these questions.
Go ahead.
Most likely to travel on a Thursday.
Philly.
Most loyal in losing seasons.
New York fans. Jets fans are a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I would say Knicks fans
too. I hate to say it, Philadelphia fans will drop you like a hot stone if you
Really?
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Dude,
really?
Come on. They booed Mike Schmidt. They booed possibly the greatest third baseman in the history of baseball. And, when he had a bad season or a down season, what did they do? They friggin' booed him. I mean, come on.
To be fair, though, Yankee fans have booed Jeter, Rivera, Judge.
Yeah, but, it's not this. I don't know.
Judge
Yankee fans didn't throw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Yeah.
We have an episode about that, by the way.
Philadelphia fans are really proud of that Santa Claus episode. Or incident. I have to tell you, every one of my Philly friends, even now, I have a lot of friends from Philadelphia live down here, and we talk about that. And inevitably, whenever I meet somebody from Philadelphia, somehow or another, that particular incident gets weaved into the conversation. How, I don't know, but it does.
Yeah, did you hear the players were actually throwing snowballs at Santa too? We covered that in our episode. Yeah, I think one of the fans threw it. The quarterback we talked about threw it at Santa too, and it hit him. Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay.
All right, so back to these questions.
Yes.
Philly or New York? Most merch bought in the last 12 months.
Philly.
Noisiest arenas or ballparks or stadiums.
Philly.
Wow. All right.
Oh, wow. You thought it was going to be Madison Square Garden, didn't you?
Yeah. Winning, man. Dude, when they score you score a lot of touchdowns, there's an awful lot of cheering going on.
Yeah.
Most likely to stay to the end of the game.
Oof. Philly. New York fans can't wait to get out of there
because traffic's bad.
Dude, I made the biggest mistake of my life one time. I went to a game. I got some great seats from Yankee Stadium. My wife and I went to a game. And
you parked in the parking garage?
What's that?
You parked did you park in one of those parking garages?
No, I think we actually took the subway. But
okay.
So the game, the Yankees are down by like 8 runs going into like the 5th or 6th inning. And, about the 6th inning, my wife and I said, this game's over and all that. Friggin' Yankees came back and scored like 6 runs in the 8th and 9th or 7 runs, some ridiculous number, and ended up winning in extra innings. And my wife's like, I can't freaking believe you left. She's a New Yorker and a Yankee fan, I might add.
The best combo.
Oh, yeah, sure. I took her to the World Series when the Marlins played the Yankees. So we're sitting we're sitting in, well, it was before they had the Marlins Stadium. So we're sitting in what is now called Hard Rock Stadium. And of course, they used to have it configured differently for baseball. I got my seats. I got my seats actually from a client. And of course, they're right in the middle of the friggin' Yankee fans. So here I am wearing, Marlins hat, Marlins shirt, rooting for the Marlins and all that. Long story short, Marlins ended up winning the game with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 11th.
Wow.
And
wow.
I remember like all of a sudden everybody around me went like dead quiet. And I'm like, yeah, but what can I tell you?
Awesome.
My wife
was that?
Mad at me for about 10 minutes, but that's okay.
Which game was that?
Game 6. I think game 6. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. Maybe game 5. It was in Miami.
I think the series only went 6.
Alex, who was the shortstop for the Marlins? Alex Gonzalez, I think.
Alex Gonzalez. Yeah,
he had a walk off home run in like the bottom of the 11th.
According to Google,
go ahead.
I just Googled it real quickly.
Go ahead.
It was in the 12th inning of Game 4.
Okay, so there you go. That was close.
It could
Game
be
5, missed it by 1, 25% off, and
it was a long time
got
ago.
the wrong inning.
Good,
so
good memory.
Sue me.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Neil. We want to give you a platform to talk a little bit more. You already talked about your business. We'll talk about it a little bit more.
Sure.
But first, I was going to ask you something, and I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Dude, you're not that old to be losing memory. Like, dude, you're better be hitting that ginkgo biloba a little harder.
I don't get the reference.
Does he?
Yeah, there you go. Not enough these days, but yeah.
Gummies. It's all about the gummies.
Yeah, so it is all about the gummies. All right. So anyway, Neil. So tell us. I was going to ask you. You have to pick a winner. The last question. I didn't ask you this in the lightning round. Who's a better fan, Sistad or me?
I got to say Sistad, and I'm going to tell you why.
I agree.
Look at his back. Okay, hang on. Stop the clock. Look at his background. Look at yours. He's wearing a Philly hat. He's got the Philadelphia, looks like Lincoln Financial Field picture in the background. Sixers in the background. Picture of the front page of is it the Daily News or the Inquirer?
It's the Inquirer.
Okay, it's the Philadelphia Inquirer. Although he looks like he is broadcasting from his bedroom. So you do lose 5 points for that.
It's the office. It's just very messy.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I agree.
Sorry, Andrew. I know you're the one that invited me on, but and it's probably rude to not grease up the host. But
I agree. Sistad is a better fan than me.
But look. At the end of the day, there are good fans and there are great fans. Okay, good fans,
bad fans.
Good fan, and there are bad fans. But good fan, I consider myself a fan of the Miami Dolphins. I don't go to the games. I don't buy licensed merch. I don't gamble on them. I won't travel to support them. I'll sit on my couch and watch the games, and I will do that. But, somebody that goes to the games, my friend Rich goes to the games. He'll travel, 1 or 2 games a year. In fact, he was telling me he was thinking about going to Madrid this past weekend, to watch and all that. That's a dedicated, engaged fan. That's
more than a fan. That's like, let's go on a vacation to Spain.
No, he's just going to go for the weekend.
Yeah.
But then again, he realized, hey, I got to fly 16 hours and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, he talked himself out of it really quick.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. All right, Neil, tell us a little bit more about your business, about SBRnet. Tell us about, I know before we came on, you were talking about a little bit about your own podcast.
Sure.
So take a few minutes. Where can people find you? Tell us all about your different businesses and podcasts and all that.
My wife's been keeping me up to date on the Panther game. She says, you're missing a great game. It's 5-3 right now in favor of the Panthers. I love it. I do enjoy watching the Panthers. So let me talk to you a little bit about my business. SBRnet, it's a great company. Data is our primary area of business, but it's not our only area of business. As Andrew said, we have our own podcast. It's called My First Job in Sports. One of the things I recognized as somebody who's been in the business a long time is that these kids that I talk to in colleges and universities and all over, everybody wants to get a job. Believe me, and their parents want them off the payroll. So I can't tell you how happy I was when I got my kids off the payroll. But the idea is that we felt that the best way to help students get a job in sports is for them to listen to the people that already have those jobs. What did they do to get their job? Who did they, how did they build their network? Who did they contact? What did they do? What courses did they take while they were in school? What things did they, what didn't they do? All these things. So we're in 40 episodes. So in fact, 40. We're doing 41 tomorrow. So, it's been a great run, 2 years. We're going to continue doing it. But what's interesting is that something spun out of that, like things spin out of television shows. I had an event spin out of My First Job in Sports, and it's called Get in the Game. And Get in the Game, we just had it in Baltimore, Maryland last weekend, but it's focused specifically on helping students of color get jobs in the sports business. So we work with HBCUs, historical Black colleges. We work with kids of color at, all the schools are on the Eastern Seaboard mostly. But we have this great event in Baltimore. We bring in amazing sponsors. We bring in amazing speakers. We have panels. So we really want to help people get jobs in the business of sports. Because frankly, where are the new leaders coming from? And if we rely on the same people, I hate to say it, sports has over the rules, especially in the business side, has done a lot of like recycling. How many times have you heard the same general manager gets recycled time after time after time? And how often does it really work? But, our business is great. If you want to reach me, by the way, SBRnet.com. I'm on Instagram at SBRnet Data. And I'm also on LinkedIn at just SBRnet. We put a lot of stuff up on social media. In fact, when this show is produced and ready to go, aired, I will put it up on our social media. I actually, what I might do? I'm going to take a screenshot right now, and I actually might put a little blurb up on the show right now, if you guys don't mind.
We don't mind at all.
I'll take a quick screenshot, and tomorrow morning I'll have my social media person, put a nice little present, a nice little, what do you call it, together, and we'll talk about the show.
Yeah, our social media
I
person
spoke
will
to
do the
these two
same.
knuckleheads from New York and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, Sis Dad, you look terrific. Andrew, I don't know.
See that?
He's
Better
like,
fan, better looking.
We've reversed.
You both look.
This
great.
is a weird
I'm
thing
the one that
between
looks
us.
crappy. I'm old. I'm tired. But I love the business. I love talking to people about sports. Obviously, I love it. I love it.
Neil, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thanks.
Any last thoughts?
Look, I think that being a sports fan is a wonderful thing. Being a fan, whether your team's wins, loses, or whatever, being a sports fan is a wonderful thing. It gives you a diversion from the crap show that is our lives right now. And anything that can deliver you from that crap show, in my opinion, is a good thing. Any diversion you can find is a good thing. Do we get a little stressed out at times? You bet your ass we do. Do we get exuberant and jumping up and down? You bet your ass I do. Do you yell at the TV? My wife thinks I'm absolutely friggin' nuts. But do I do it? Yes. And do I love it? What do you think the answer to that question is? Yes.
Yes.
And it won't stop me.
You bet.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on the show tonight. It was really enjoyable. I love talking to true sports fans like you guys are. And I love dissing on New York. So what can I tell you?
Me too.
Neil, thank you so much, Neil.
Okay. You have a great night.
Man.
You as well.
Too. We'll see you soon.
You bet.
All right. So, dude, what do you think?
That was fun. He's got a lot of energy, that guy, man. Trying to keep up with him.
I know. He's saying he's so old. He has more energy than us combined. I'm drinking coffee and I don't have the energy. well, he doesn't have young he doesn't have like babies or young kids though. That's probably why.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he owns his own business, so it's not like he has to wake up early, right? He can kind of mosey in. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard, but
He can mosey in. Yeah. Anyway, you have, I guess we confirmed nothing here. That Philadelphia or New York is better. We're both great.
I think he was pretty definitive in saying that Philadelphia is better, dude.
New York's more philanthropic, and Philadelphia buys the Eagles Super Bowl championship merch. Which
well, New York also has a lot more money, so Ben Stiller, he's probably very philanthropic.
There you go.
He donated to the Jason Tatum Achilles Foundation.
Yeah, it's the celebrities that really keep this going. Jason Tatum Achilles.
One thing I wanted to ask him though, like here's this is not a very scientific way of looking at it, but like I feel like when you think about Philadelphia, one of the first things that you think of is the sports teams, right? You think of crazy Eagles fans. That's kind of what I think of.
Of course.
And and when you think about New York, like I think sports is just so far down the list of like what you think about. Just because there's so much more going on, and there's
he did
Broadway,
mention that,
and there's all this, So I don't know. I just think it's a little bit more ingrained in the fabric of Philadelphia. But it was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when I think about New York, the first thing I think about is like, I don't know, Rockefeller Center, like Central Park, like I'm not thinking about the Mets. I'm just not. Are you?
I mean, probably not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think of any city and think of the sports. Like, actually, maybe Philadelphia, actually, is the only city.
Yeah.
I don't think of any other city, like, and I would think of sports, sports. Well, actually, I don't know. Any city, I'd probably think of the closest baseball team or something. But
yeah.
In general, if someone says, "Oh, let's go to the city," I don't know. Like, if oh, they, they're, I think of the sports team. I'd probably think of something else. Anyway, all right. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please like. Like the video and subscribe to the podcast channel. We'll see you next time.
Philly pride insists that's all. Andrew rapping and Wild Bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems. Philly versus NY. Hear the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, sis, that Brad unite. Philly and Y in the spot.